Hello everyone, back again with another exciting video. This game is from the Bundesliga 2011 to 2012 edition with the white pieces, the great Artur Yusupov, who was 25-66 at the time. So he's in his older chess playing years, not in his prime in the 80s where he was ranked number 3 in the world at his peak. The black pieces grandmaster Dorian Rogozenco. And this is a critical position here that I wanted you to focus on at the beginning. But I'm going to actually show you the game from the start of the game because I want to just go on the sideline in the system that Yusupov has been playing in his older years. So keep this position in mind. We'll return to it, but we're just going to briefly skim over the opening. So Yusupov started off d4, d5, knight f3, knight f6, e3, and I just want to say Yusupov in his later years as a chess player, he's not going deep into theory and preparation and all that stuff. So he's been playing the Kali system as one of his mainstays. It's a pretty solid opening. You're not going to get any huge advantage for white, but at least you're going to get out of the opening safely. And have chances to outplay your opponent. And what's interesting is nowadays with the nature of preparation, that's basically what's happening anyway in all of the openings. So whether you play quote unquote mainline Queen's Gambit or something like that, are you really getting any more of an advantage than you would say in playing the Kali system? Um, of course, yes, theoretically you are, but by move 25, two strong grandmasters, the game's probably equal. So is it worth all of that preparation? You see, even Magnus Carlsen sometimes he plays stuff, Trompovsky, things that are supposed to be like drawish. He outplays his opponent later on and wins the game. So Yusupov is, in later years he's playing this Kali system. Rogozenco plays c6, so he doesn't play e6 here, which allows white to go in this, it's easy, it's easy play here in the Kali system, and set things up. Whether you play c6, this classical Kali Koltanowski system, or you play b3, the Kali Zukertort, when your opponent is black, plays c6, he still has an option to bring this bishop out to f5 or g4. And the thing is, if you're a Kali system player, you have to be prepared for this because players will do this a lot, especially if they're a Slav player. And for all intents and purposes, bishop f5 is really annoying because, of course, in a Kali system, you want your bishop here, right? A very important piece. If you look at a lot of classic Kali system games, you'll see the bishop takes h7 sacrifice, followed by knight g5, and the queen to h5, etc. And bishop f5 from black just kind of shuts that down. And also bishop g4, putting this pin on this knight, makes it very difficult to orchestrate another thematic maneuver in the Kali system, which is bringing this knight up to e5 and following up with f4, etc., etc., as you would do, say, in the Stonewall attack or a Pillsbury attack in the Queen's Gambit decline. So bishop g4 can be a problem, and this is why Yusupov does not play c3 here and or move like bishop d3, because at this point he recognizes that he just has to go into a sort of a queen's gambit position, or a Slav, if you will. And I made some videos on the Kali system, specifically how to deal with bishop f5, bishop g4, and g6. So I'll post a link to that at the end of this video. But back to this game, Rogozenco played bishop g4, and Yusupov just simply played an exchange variation of the Slav. So he played c takes d5, bishop comes off, queen takes f3, and c takes d5, knight c3. Really simple stuff. no advantage really for white, but Yusupov's going to rely on his vast experience. He has the two bishops, right? There's an open file, some diagonals, right? So go from here. Knight c6, bishop d3, e6, castles, bishop e7, rook d1, castle. Everything's pretty straightforward. Only thing we can say white has to make a claim about is the two bishops, but this game is dead equal, symmetrical as can get with the pawn structure. Bishop f1. Uh, I'm sorry. Yes, bishop f1, rook c8, bishop d2. Now comes the a5, and now bishop e1. Knight c4, so we can see Yusupov wants to keep the bishop here, obviously, and he just tucks him away till later. Queen e2, a6, b3 to knock the knight off. Knight a3, rook ac1, b5, f3, queen d7, and of course, Yusupov is keeping a watch on e4 by doing f3, and perhaps at some point he will like to organize the move e4. The problem is that once he does a move like e4 and exchange takes place, it's bad for the pawn structure because either white will have an isolated d pawn or he will have 3 pawn islands with 2 pawns on the a and b files, 2 on the d and e files, and on the g and h files. So f3 is more of a defensive move to keep the black knight off e4 than really working, than really getting e4 in itself. It also sets up g4 at some point, but again, white is really not in a position to conduct a kingside attack. So these are more positional and space gaining moves. The position is equal, so therefore you know the principles of chess would dictate that white would not have any big tactical blow that he could land or do anything drastic. The moves has to match the nature of the position. This is pretty much an equal position, so now it's just a matter of strategy. Queen b2, rook c6. So obviously, planning on doubling down the c file. Rook fc8, knight e2, and now b4. So black has gained more space on the queen side. He can even possibly think about rerouting his knight at some point via b5. So rook takes, and now rook c1, knight to e8, rook takes c6, queen takes c6, queen c1. So Yusupov is just trading all his material off, and the game seems to be headed quickly for a draw here. Now a6 pawn is attacked, so knight c7, knight e2, king to f8, bringing the king to the center, g4, and what black is, what white is looking forward to playing is the move h4, which he plays there, h4, g6, that prevents the move h5, king g2, knight a b5, and there it is. The knight finally decides to give it up on a3 and find another job. King h3, a5, bishop d2, king g7, finally e4, bishop d6. Again, we spoke about this move earlier when there were more pieces on the board. If d takes e4, f takes e4, and you can see there are 3 pawn islands. The benefit of this is that, of course, those 2 pawns, although they are separated from the rest of their brothers, is that they control the important squares in the center. Another thing is that opening up the the file, the F file in this case, creates more scope for the white pieces. And having the two bishops, we all know that the more open the position becomes, the more of an asset this particular feature is to the player that holds the two bishops. So those are the benefits of um, of having the position open, and this is why, although the pawns would be in the pawn structure would fall into black's favor, the other features would be in white's favor. So Rogozenco keeps the position closed, and this is in black's favor to keep the position closed, being that white has the two bishops and the knights really don't have any strong outposts to go to. Knight a3 is not, the a3 square is not some fantastic success for black. All right, c3 would be much better, but of course that square is guarded. e5 from Yusupov, so Yusupov takes more space. Bishop e7, f4. Now, here's the critical point in the game that we started the video on. Of course, it's black's move here. And again, I already mentioned that being that white has the two bishops, it's probably in black's best interest to keep this position closed, since black really doesn't have any good places for those knights. Usually, right, a closed position is better for knights because they can hop over pieces. They can, do things that the other pieces can't do. So, the bishop can't go through pawns, the rooks can't go through pawns, but knights can hop over. But in this case, there's really no outpost for them to prosper. So, for instance, if somehow this knight could land here, that would be great. Right, have a knight on e4, maybe a knight here, that would be great. But those critical squares are taken away. Yusupov did a great job in just making sure that these squares are guarded. And again, the only real square that black has access to with his knights is a bad square, a3. Because even if he got the a3, where would the knight go after that? Because b1 is guarded, is along with c2, and c4 is guarded. So this is really like a garbage square for the knight. Therefore, these knights are pretty much out of the game. Another thing is that although the pawns are pretty locked up, they're not completely locked up. And f5 is on the table for white, and Yusupov wants to open up the position here. So the best move for black in this position is probably something like bishop d8, right? Not provoking white and trying to keep the position closed as possible. The problem is he really can't stop white from opening the position, but he can try to postpone it as much as possible and minimize the effects of it when it happens. So say bishop d8, for example, and king g3 or something, because at this point f5, g takes, and e takes f5. You can see the opening of the position being good for white here. If he takes here, bishop takes f5, knight e6 is good because it gives black some more scope with his knights. There's something to fight for. So now move either bishop e3, which kind of devalues this bishop as it becomes a defensive piece, or white just has to give up the bishop pair immediately, which is good for black also. So this is just an example. Of course, he want to play f5 there, but it's just an example of black minimizing the effects of a move like f5 in that position as much as he can. So back to the game, Rogozenco played f6 here, which falls right into Yusupov's hands. Now watch what happens and watch how these these bishops come alive. So e takes f6, check. Bishop takes f6, and it looks good on paper because the knight is coming alive, right, on b5, attacking this pawn as well as the bishop. Okay, perhaps Rogozenco's just anticipating a move like bishop e3, again making the bishop passive. However, Yusupov had some news for him. First, let's look at the variation king takes f6 and get that out of the way. So king takes f6 is meant simply by just g5, king g7, and then g takes h6 check, and king h7, and you can already see the problems. Again, this bishop is very powerful in this diagonal, and it's met by h5. Bishop's very powerful here on d2. So therefore, if this pawn is captured, then you have this discovered check. Okay, like a foreshadow of what's to come. So e takes f6, bishop takes f6, and the powerful g5, right? Not bishop e3. And you can see the power of the bishop. So that's really what this video is about, is the power of these two, the bishop pair as the position opens up. Bishop takes d4 from Rogozenco. Again, if h takes g5 here, f takes, you have the same scenario. So bishop takes happened in the game, and then Yusupov took. First, threw the check in there, and king f7 was played with the same reasons as I showed before. If king takes h6, you had this discovered check. f5, king g7, knight takes, and now bishop f4, and this is problematic. Why? Again, I showed you earlier that the knights really didn't have any good outposts. So now in this variation, the bishop is attacking this knight right here on c7, and it's threatening the fork to win this knight. And that's the issue right there. Back to the game. G takes h6, king f7. So the pawn is not captured. Now Yusupov captures the bishop, and now you have two bishops versus two knights, but the knights are not too good in this case. Again, the reason is no outposts. They're not safe. Knights need outposts to be safe. h7. This ties the king to this pawn right here. Perhaps even stronger is just bishop e3. And there's two lines here after knight cb5. They're just simply h7, king g7, and then tactics. Bishop takes g6. Of course, you can't capture this bishop because this pawn will queen. And another line is if knight f5. I know some of you want to go there. Then the problem is this bishop can just go here and pick up these pawns. Also h7, of course. I'm sure all of you see that. So h7, king g7, and then do that. And again, it's just it's all she wrote once this bishop starts collecting pawns back here. Yusupov did not go for that continuation. Instead, he just played h7 right away. Still effective, but the other move was stronger. King g7, and you have the same idea. Bishop takes g6 again. Not able to capture the bishop. Knight f5, and Yusupov plays king g4. And now the knight has finally found an outpost on f5, but it's still not safe there. Knight e7. And now bishop d3. Another winning continuation is just h5 here. Instead, he just goes back. Bishop d3. Knight e8. King g5. d4. Bishop c1, and now it's just a matter of cleaning up by Yusupov. And what Yusupov is doing is just trying to get his bishops in a safe position, but he wants to get this dark square bishop on this diagonal. So bishop b2, knight c3. Again, there's the outpost, but you know, it's too little, too late, and it's not affecting what white wants to do. Okay, right now, yes, it's blocking the bishop, but let's see what happens. h5, knight d6, h6 check, king goes to h8, and now the king is just running wild. King f6, knight de4, king e5, knight f2, and the king is just, just cleaning up. Knight cd1, bishop a1. Notice the white is staying on this diagonal. Knight takes d3, king takes d3 check, and this frees the king on h8. So he captures that pawn. King e2, and notice the knight is trapped. Again, it's been a story of the bad knights, right? Knight can't go to e3, can't go to f2, can't go here. It can go here, but you're gonna drop more material, right? And eventually you'll lose the game as a result of being behind the material. So Rogozenco goes to the only square he can go to, and simple win for Yusupov. B takes c3 and just simply a3 as a pass pawn is going to be created here. So you can't stop everything. Capture this guy, then there'll be a pass pawn here. White will collect this pawn, and then while this king is running over here to stop the pass pawn over here, this f pawn will be the one to save the day, as the king will capture this pawn, and then this pawn will queen. So I hope you enjoyed that game. Very powerful game by Grandmaster Yusupov. I really like that game. I like how the game shows the power of the bishops expanding as the position opens, and you were able to see the contrast between the two bishops and the two knights. And you can see how chess rules aren't always just you know ground and stone. They're fluid. Like you might hear like, oh, knights are better in closed positions. It's not always like that. It depends on other factors. Are there outposts? Or is there potential for the position to become open, etc., etc.? So even when this position wasn't really open, those knights weren't really that good. Now, white's bishops weren't that good either, but so none of the minor pieces were that good. However, there was an opportunity to open the position, and that's what always gave white the better prospects going forward. And that's another important concept to think about in the future for another video is chances in the position, because the position could look pretty even, but one side could have better chances going forward, or just more opportunities, more things he could try, and just having that alone could make or break your position. So anyway, that is it for this video. Again, the game is Yusupov Rogozenco from the Bundesliga in 2011. You want to look that up. I'll post that link down below. So check the links out below. I'll put videos related to this opening down below, and also please donate to my channel. I would greatly appreciate the support. And then below that, you'll see the link to the game, to the score sheet, so you can look that up. So I'd like to hear your comments and thoughts. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next video.